Good morning, everybody. Today, in this video, I will be talking about all the things that I read in January. I will be going over all the things that I want to read in February and what I thought about the books that I read in January, including and not including my favorite parts. Maybe I'll give a little bit of a review for the things that I really liked. So I hope you can get some recommendations out of it. I'll try to put you on some good books, even though what I read was mostly classics, but there are some bangers here and there. So, the first book that I read this year was Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And I'll actually say these two together. I also read The Death of Ivan Ilyich and the Notes from the Underground together. I think I liked the Notes from the Underground more than I liked The Death of Ivan Ilyich because it felt more complete. I mean, Ivan Ilyich was great, but I just like Notes from the Underground more because it had more content. Maybe, I mean, it is literally longer than the other one. And I felt like it had a more entertaining philosophy that it was giving out, and I felt more motivated by it, honestly, about action and inaction, about people who only think about things that they want to do but never actually act upon them. So it was great, actually. The second book that I read this month was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, if I said that right. This book is actually absolutely amazing. I know that people feel intimidated when they see a book of this length, but for a book of this length, the pacing, the characters, and the story that drives it through, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful story of revenge, of the questions. It even questions the questions of things like is how much revenge is good, how far should you go for things like vengeance, and it's absolutely entertaining. I learned so much from this book, and it was such an entertaining story throughout. I think this is the classic, like it is the classic novel, the classic fiction novel, not non-fiction. The book that I read after this was non-fiction, which is unusual for me, but I had to like put myself through it this year. I wanted to experiment a little bit. Maybe I find something new that I like, and it was The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I have not read Giovanni's Room, but The Fire Next Time was absolutely amazing. It was short, but it was packed with so much rage, but without the anger. It felt like it knew what it was angry about, but it wasn't just throwing it out there. It felt like it had thought about the anger that it held for so long, and it was a very, very great experience. He even speaks about it from a non-biased perspective. He talks about Elijah Muhammad and his conversations with him. It is about the racial identity of black people and how they feel discriminated in the streets of America on a daily basis. And I'm not American, but the way he says it and the way he articulated these points in the book, I couldn't help but draw some parallels with my own country and maybe give myself some space to think about how these people felt. He asked questions about who is allowed to belong and who is supposed to be grateful, who is supposed to adapt so that the other party accepts them. And these things just happen around us so often that we keep blaming the people instead of looking at the system and the place from where this thinking actually arises. I mean, not arrives. Whew. The next book that I read was Kokoro by Natsume Soseki, and this one was almost therapeutic in a way. The book is divided into three acts, and I felt like this book does for me what Murakami could never do. I have always tried to read Murakami, but I have never gotten into it. I don't know, his writing just doesn't do it for me. I have tried many books, even the best books that people say are the best books, but it doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like Murakami, but this guy, Natsume Soseki, the way he puts so much into these simple sentences, like it's so implicit. He doesn't put things out there explicitly, and that's the most beautiful thing. So Kokoro is like this story of the characters are not really named. It's a narrator who's a little kid. It's kind of a coming of age story, but not in the most conventional sense, I would say it. And there is the sensei, who is this old man that the narrator looks up to. And he's a very mysterious man. He does all these mysterious things, which make you ask, like, why is he doing this? What is he hiding? And then towards the end, we get to hear the sensei's story, and he explains a lot of how his life came about and why he is the way he is, and it's a very interesting read, I would say. I've often heard that this is the Japanese classic novel of all time. Like, this is one of, I just said it for this, but I said it that this is the classic English. Like, I don't know, it was in French, but this is one of the classics of all time. But that book, Kokoro, is the Japanese classic of all time. It was great. The next book that I read was actually a play by Cormac McCarthy. It was The Sunset Limited, and this book is so short that I read it in literally one sitting. I read it in one sitting, like I got up cover to cover. I read it in one sitting, and it's almost like a palate cleanser. It's very short. It's a play, so a play plus it's short, so it's just dialogue. And there are not really many characters. There's just two characters, and they're in just one room. They're black and white, like that's literally what they're named because they're black and white respectively. And they talk about, like, they have very contrasting personalities, and they discuss their philosophies, try to get the other one to accept theirs, and it's just a very entertaining read. You should go for it. Like, it'll just take 1 hour to read it. Like, there's no reason not to read it, especially if you want to get into Cormac McCarthy. I would highly recommend it. I think it's a good starter. I started with Blood Meridian, and honestly, it was kind of intimidating because of the prose and the lack of punctuation, but it was great. A book that I read after that was *Thanda Gosht, Cold Flesh, for somebody who does not know Hindi or Urdu, by Saadat Hassan Manto. This book explores. I read it in Urdu. Wait. This. And this book explores the social evil. Like, all of Manto's stories explore the social evils that were rampant, even still are, in the post-partition and pre-partition India. And in this book specifically, in this story, he talks about lust. He talks about mostly lust, actually. He talks about lust and guilt and how that affects a person. And it's written in a very vulgar, almost disturbing way. I mean, I've never read a story in my native language that uses this kind of language and these kind of words, so it was a little bit unnerving, and I liked that, honestly. I will be reading more of Manto shortly. The next book that I read was John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, and I can tell you, man, this devastated me. The ending is devastating. I don't know, like, I heard that people, like, in America read this story as part of their school curriculum, and I cannot imagine that. I would be fucking bowling in class, man. It's a story of these two men, basically, George and Lenny. And George is like this person who is more of a thinker. It's in the Great Depression, obviously. They're not very well off. And Lenny is has this childlike personality. He is almost, I think, he has some, what do you call it? He is mentally set back a little bit. He is a bit mentally disabled, or less able, as they would say. And he is often taken care of by George, who is this man. But also, Lenny is very buff, so like anything he touches, he ends up killing it, even though he just wants to pet it. And this becomes a very crucial part of the story. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but it is a beautiful story. It is about how people were living in the Great Depression and how they were dependent upon other people during the Great Depression. And overall, I think that the best part about the book is the ending. Like, it really, really shows you how desperate people have to get, and the foreshadowing, man, it's just insane. So now I'm reading another John Steinbeck book. I'm reading East of Eden. I just started it yesterday, so I'll not be able to finish it in this month. I'll probably finish it in early February because I have to start going to work tomorrow. It's going to be a little busy from now on, so I'll not be able to read many books after this. I was quite free this month, so I was able to do that. And overall, I feel like these books that I read this month have been great. I tried to read Kurt Vonnegut's Hocus Pocus, but I just couldn't get into it yet. Maybe I just need a little bit of space. I have been cramming too much things together, and I should start with Cat's Cradle probably. So I might be doing that as well instead of Hocus Pocus, but maybe if I get time and I have nothing else to do, I'll wrap up Hocus Pocus. So that was my review for this month, and I'll probably be coming out with a short video soon, maybe review one of the books that I read, like in depth, in detail, and try to give my thoughts on them. I just woke up, that's why my voice is like this. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment what you want to hear, maybe some recommendations or some recommendations for my videos. I'm always open to criticism. I know this is not the best anything. So yeah, thank you for watching.